Hey guys, just real quick, I just want to let you guys know you can find me at patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. All your financial support there goes directly back into making more content for you guys and you ladies out there. And remember, you can always cancel your subscription at any time. And if you are one of my Patreons, thank you so much. Your help gets me closer to making my personal comics and my dreams come to life. Seriously though, head on over there if you guys are interested, and anybody that gives any money at all, if it is something that you're interested in, you do get access to my pencil brushes that I use in Manga Studio 5EX for free, and there's 5 of those guys. So subscribe today if you're interested in it, share if you're not, maybe one of your friends might be interested in it. I appreciate all of it. Thank you again, and enjoy the video. Bye. Hello everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. If you guys wanted to follow me on Twitter, DeviantArt, all those awesome places, you can head over there. And if you also wanted to become a Patreon subscriber, if you would like to throw $1 at me, 50 cents, any kind of monetary value at all, just to say thank you, or any kind of support whatsoever, I really appreciate that. And you can head over to patreon.com/JonathanRector. There's also some things you can get on there as well if you like an art critique, or maybe you just like to spend an hour, just you and I, going over maybe a personal project of yours, or you need a little help with something, art-wise or comic book related or anything like that. By all means, those are all available for you as well. So we'll be here for the next hour. We might go a little over. We'll see how it goes. But before I get into what we're going to be working on today, this show here is for you guys. So if you guys had any questions regarding comics, some help, anything that I might be able to help you with, by all means, ask it in the chat. All you need to do is become a member here on LiveStream. It's pretty simple. And once you're in the chat here, just please ask it in all capitals, or put my name in all capitals. That way, as the show keeps going, I can just quickly glance and scroll through it. And I try not to miss too many people, providing how it's going. How's it going, Lars? So today, what we're going to work on, some of you guys saw during the pre-show, we're going to be working on some Castle Dracula stuff. And the reason for this was at my day job, I'm doing some concept art right now. And what I needed to do was a lot of concepts pretty quickly. And I remembered this sort of workflow here that you guys had seen me do for Godslayer, which I picked this kind of method up from Feng Zhu. Okay, and check his stuff out on YouTube. It's incredible, that stuff. But what I wanted to try doing was seeing if I can get a simple version of this, which pretty much it is, of the backgrounds, and see if I can do that quickly here for Castle Dracula, but color the characters in the style that we've been coloring since, where it's just one flat color and then one flat thing of shading. And no real highlights or bounce lights or anything. I can show you guys, I'm not sure if we did this, I think we did this anyway, on the last stream, but I could be wrong. I may have done this in my spare time. I believe it's this one here. And in this picture here, once it loads, yeah, so this is sort of the art style I'm looking for. It's very akin to cell shading, and I like it. It's clean. It's pretty simple. But what I did is I added a bounce light to it. And what I'm getting out of it is it just feels like it's starting to come together in where I would like the look to be. And to be honest, I didn't really know what the look was going to be. How's it going, artist, and all the all the people in the chat? But when I do projects, usually there's not like an art style necessarily right presented to me right off the crack. It's sort of like just dig with the project a little bit and things will start to come. And one of the cool things is when you do this sort of thing is that it gets into finding new styles and new ways to work and getting some pretty cool results out of it. So that's what we're going to try today. Doing this background thing here actually doesn't take that long. And I'm going to show you how we go about doing this. But first what we need is this guy here. Actually, just let me open up a new window so I can have this zoomed out on my second monitor. Because we're going to be going in there and tightening up some of this line work. So how this method will work is only the characters need to have some somewhat tight line work. I don't want to spend, I only have an hour to do this experiment, so I don't want to spend the whole show just doing the line work. Let me just go back so I can show you guys. I didn't like the way the body was looking there, so that's why we're kind of going back. So the first thing I did is open up this piece of paper. I just did a Google image search for paper texture. It kind of gives it some like a cool kind of look, you know. Then I just added a quick perspective grid that I just freehanded in. It's a basic 1-point perspective with some vanishing points that are very close. So that's where you get like these really dynamic angles. And then this was just like the quick sketch of where I want to go. So what we're going to do is I'm trying to figure or think about this to put it in place of like what's the point of this besides just the experiment? What's the other thing I can do story-wise? And I know in the comic we have the main character Pierre here. He's leaving the village, which is behind him, heading over to the castle, which is the house of Dracula. So what I want to have here is maybe this is the moment when he goes into the forest before he goes to the castle. So I just want to have some things down here. Like you can see these little circles down here. These are representing like pebbles or some sort of walkway. Another way that I can get some extra texture in there. And you'll see how we're going to get that. And here I wanted to make sure, if I can't, you'll see how the photo reference kind of goes. Is I want to have some curved trees, but this is mostly just to insinuate and tell myself that, okay, now we're in a forest, so make sure there's trees here, and it's going to get denser as we go up, you know, maybe some more trees right up front here, like that. And then I still want to have the village in the background and the moon as a light source in the back. The other quick thing I will say is I want to try one additional thing that I might be able to get away with by doing this sort of style here, is that I can actually affect the way that the colors look on the character based on the scene they're in. So he'll be outside, so I'm already looking or thinking of like a grayish blue sort of color palette going on through this. But when he gets in the castle, maybe it's red or green, you know, and I like that look. In a lot of comic books, when characters change scenes, there's like a different color. If you imagine your character going into a nightclub, there's probably some hot pinks and purples and blues, you know. But then when they're outside at the beach at dawn, there's like oranges and, you know, some really rich colors there, and it just helps make it look a little more poppy. Some people like it, some people don't. Doesn't matter. So what we're doing here is we're just lowering down the opacity again, just so I can still understand what's going on. And I'm just gonna lower the perspective a bit. And like I say, this is where I was going with the body. Didn't quite like it. I like where this one's going already. Feels like he's in motion. Oh, sweet. Lars just let us know that he's working on that Human Torch. So for those of you that were here in the last week, I definitely remember that's what we did there. And he's working on that. So that's awesome. Okay, so I got the figure here. Placing the feet. I always have trouble placing feet on characters. I don't know why. I think it's, as you can see, I build down a lot. Some people, not a lot, but they'll do the opposite, where they'll start with the feet and then they kind of like build up that way. But I just have to make sure that, you know, we've got this perspective that's kind of happening. Let me just redraw the perspective in there just so I can place him a little bit better. So we're going to use the back leg. As you can see, the back leg's way too small here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to shrink this boy up here. Just grab a kneadable eraser here and just kind of erase a little bit. Those big chunky thighs. Just gonna bring his crotch up a little bit just to make his legs look a little longer. So that's about where the front knee needs to be. So let's just erase this up here. About this way here. So I'm just gonna gesture in where I think this should go here. I want to curve the leg in. Make sure that this guy here is at least in front. Okay, so now we're kind of getting there. Let's build this up here. So I posted on Facebook yesterday. All my days, they keep getting mixed up. I always forget what I what I did the day before. But I was on Canadian Netflix there, and I know some people are always, why use that? There's easy ways to get your Xbox or whatever you use to use Netflix where you can get like a US key or something. So you can watch US Netflix, which I hear is far superior. But anyway, I finally got around to watching the first episode of Attack on Titan. I've read the manga. I really didn't like it. There's some things about it that were pretty cool, but overall, it just, I don't know, the manga just, the artwork really killed it for me. But the anime was real good. I didn't mind it, actually. And I don't watch a lot of anime. Let's just be fair. And I've heard some pretty harsh criticisms about it, where there's just like a lot of crying and screaming and stuff. I come from a background of Dragon Ball Z, and the manga after I've watched the TV show is incredible, way better than the TV show in my opinion. But if you've watched that, there's so much screaming and just staring, so I didn't really get that sort of feel from it. And also, I really dig the idea of how the people, they keep feeling like they're trapped in a cage like an animal. I don't know, something about that just rings really close to me. It might be, I don't want to get into that, but you guys know I'm a vegan, so that whole replacing humans with animals in a sense, where it's they feel like they're prey all the time and they're hunted. They're always trying to, I don't know. It just makes it just rings a little differently to me. And so far I'm enjoying it. So have you guys been watching it? Have you guys tried it? Do you like it? Is it sort of like a bum out? So I'm just going to sketch in here his costume. Oh, and I should have said too, for those of you that don't know, this is Photoshop we're doing this in. Yeah, I would assume, like at least in the first issue that I read, there's definitely screaming, but it's not remotely close to like in the show. That screaming, they always try to add it for that drama, you know. Alright, so Pierre's got his big old cape here. I want to kind of bellow it out this way. Make sure he's got his pants on. Lars is saying, Jonathan, if you're using... Okay, so I'm not going to read that out. I know there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just going to read it. Okay. I will actually just write that down. HOLA. Holla. Okay. Thank you, Lars. Artist Mike J is asking, John, when you first started doing mini comics and the like, did you find it hard to size people correctly in order for people not to feel crammed in the panels? If so, how do you feel to fix the problem? Yeah, mini comics traditionally, because of their title, you guys, for those of you that don't know, mini comics, they can be any size, to be honest with you. It's sort of like the style of doing it. I believe the original stuff is you just get like a piece of paper, you fold it a bunch, or just a bunch of pieces of paper, grab like a pen and draw it, pen and pencil, and then you just go to like a photocopier and print it. So it's like very grassroots is one way of calling it, you know, it's like really on the floor sort of deal. 1 second, somebody get his whip going here. So there's that. I did my first mini comic digitally, so placing characters at first was, I don't want to say it was a big problem, but it was definitely a problem because when you print it out, or at least when I printed it out, it's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded twice, so it's like 3 1/4 inches, if around that. So it was actually pretty different than what we normally draw on. Like I'd normally draw on an 11 by 17, right? But one thing that I got around that with, or one way that I figured out how to solve it for myself, because I had a printer available to me. If you don't have a printer, I don't know what else to tell you really, but since I had the printer available, I would just kind of do what this looks like here, and then I would print this out, and then I could see the size of it. And then if it wasn't, then I would just transform it and stuff like that. So you might want to try that. Maybe that'll help you. Maybe, hopefully. Lars fell asleep. Zero Hope. John, did you see the anime Kill la Kill or the manga? No. Actually, let me write that down too, because Heather Breckel, lady I look up to and I admire, fantastic colors. She talks about it all the time, and I didn't know it was a manga as well. So let me just write that down. John, have you ever thought of making a pencil-only comic instead of inking? Just yep, that's exactly what this book will be. This one will just be pencil, a digital pencil. There won't be any inking involved. It'll be let me just open up what we had before, just so you can see. It's going to look closer to this. It might look inked, but when you get in there, it's pencil. And when it prints out, it's actually pretty cool. It's like I don't know. It has a style to it. I like it. It reminds me of drawing back in the day without getting into digital and not knowing how to ink properly. I still don't know how to ink properly. I get by, but you know, it's just it's the way she goes. So this is sort of like my pencil brush here. I got in Photoshop. Lars asking Jonathan, are you drawing on textured paper? Yes. And the only reason for that is, okay, yeah, it looks cool, but once we start throwing textures on here, it's not really going to matter. And you'll see when we get there. So what time we got here? Okay, so I'm gonna just try to keep this quick for the line art, because this is, like I said earlier, this is a test to see how this looks. I'm hoping it looks good because it doesn't take too long to add the textured color to everything, or the textured painting, and the method again that Feng Zhu talks about when he was in his video, when he brought it up, is mostly for concept art, and concept art is not really, people go in different avenues of thought with this, but I'm in the same boat of I don't think concept art has to be perfect. Very rarely does it ever. It's mostly just about throwaway ideas. Now when I say that, that's not to say that all the art is bad, but it's all part of a production pipeline. And comic books is very illustrative heavy, right? So the artwork tends to have a more of an important role, whereas in video games or movies, the concept art that you're doing isn't what's seen in the final product, right? It's usually sent to like an animator or a 3D modeler or something like that. So what you draw basically just has to have enough information so that person knows what it's doing, and then you'll never see your concept art again unless you buy a concept art book and all that stuff like that. So why I don't even know why I was bringing that up. I think it was more of okay, well, even if this wasn't where I was going with it, I'll just kind of ramble into it. Is you guys have heard my thoughts about how I think comic books are more like, I like to think of them more like concept art, where it's I can slave all day doing really awesome artwork that I think's, you know, awesome to me anyway, and people are gonna spend 10 seconds to 2 minutes reading a comic book page, and the amount of time that goes into it is just, it just doesn't make sense to slave over really cool or laborious artwork. Now to be fair, I mean, that's not to say all comic book art should be like this. I'm just saying right now the way I look at it is trying to get as much in there that's needed in the time that I have allotted, and not have to worry about spending, or not beating myself up because I'm spending too long on something, because that's not what I want to do, right? I want to get in, get out, get that art done, get that page done, so that the project is done. Because again, it's not like I'm selling a print here. I'm not selling a poster. I'm not selling just art. I'm selling or I'm a part of, if I work with clients and stuff, is I'm a part of a comic book team. And comic book isn't just art, it's story and art. So the writer's got to do his job. I've got to illustrate that the best I can. The colorist has got to accentuate the artwork. It's got to make it pop. Letter's got to make it so that the eye flows real nice around the page, so people don't get stuck on certain areas, right? So knowing that, I don't want to, and then the inkers to clean up the artwork and put his or her little flair on there to make it their own, to help the artwork. And I believe anyway, the more you start thinking about it like that, the easier it is to let certain things go, like perfection. Anyway, okay, let me just scroll up there because I know I'm starting to ramble on there. Okay. Zero. John, any books on perspective that you recommend for someone completely new to it and how to start practicing it? Perspective is pretty difficult. There was a book that I had bought. Oh man, I forget what it is. It's got a picture of a guy drawing and there's like an airplane on it. It's so vague. Oh man, what was it called? I still haven't designed this character's whip just yet, so I'm just gonna make it like bone, make it a little interesting. But no, there's no real like book that I can think of off the top of my head that's great. I think if you just do a little research on YouTube or even just the internet in general, you'll find what you need more often than not, especially with perspective, because it's such a thing that's it's very difficult to master, but it's very easy to apply the basics. So what I mean by that is drawing like a fish-eyed lens kind of look, where everything's rounded, is very difficult to freehand when you don't understand the basics of like 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point perspective. But the more you do that stuff, the easier it is to just get in there and sort of wing it in a way. I know that probably sounds a little silly. But one thing I could suggest doing as well, I did this. I had somebody show me perspective. If you go back to my channel, I have how to draw perspective. I think I have it traditionally with a ruler. That's like way back, almost to the beginning episodes of my channel. And I'm more than sure I redid it digitally as well. But it may have just been like Manga Studio rulers and kind of going over that. But once you understand briefly 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, and 3 point, grab like a comic book or look at photographs online and don't draw like a city. Just draw the grid. And what that does, and what it did for me anyway, was that it trained me to start looking at lines. Not all the content and all the little boxes that are in there, but lines. The tops of buildings, like if I just quickly, draw a city, which is going to be a bunch of cubes. We'll just say the city looks real disgusting like this. What it does to train yourself is you can start to see lines like, okay, so this line's kind of coming here. This line over here is coming down, so you know that eventually those two lines are going to hit a perspective point. So you can train yourself, so you're like, okay, well that's 1 point, because those two go to a point. And you look at the next, like pick 2 more, you're like, okay, there's 2 lines there, this one's going there. Eventually that's going to hit a point, that's 2 points. How many points could there be? Usually they're 3 point when you look at this stuff. And then you just kind of do the same thing on this side, and you're like, okay, so now you can just build a grid inside of that, and you're good to go. But doing that sort of research, I find helps. Helps so that when you sit down, you kind of know where you're going, and it'll help make your drawings clearer. Look at that boot is massive. I really need to do a turnaround sheet for this guy so I can figure out the small details like this boot, like it's so dry. Yeah, backgrounds can be pretty tricky. I think most people, I don't say most people suck at them, I just think most people, including myself, I don't want to do them. But I still know how to do a background if I need to do a background, right? Which is usually most of the time. Most of the time you need a background in some way or another. And I think if you can figure out perspective grids, and by grids I mean like, here, let me just zoom out here so you guys can see what I'm talking about when I say grid. Like Like that's a grid. That's a perspective grid. And now that I know that, I could build a city inside that. I'm sure all of you could start getting ideas in your head of, you know, what could fill that space. But once you understand this sort of idea, and see how quickly like this is just throwing in stuff. This isn't anything beautiful. And once I go in there, you know, like, and then this layer, or where did I have it right here? Where this is what I threw in that space. Then I could lower the opacity, break out your ruler if you're doing this normally with like a pencil or something, and draw your straight lines so that you can line everything up. If you actually search on YouTube, David Finch, he just uploaded recently a really, really phenomenal video on how he tackles perspective. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's definitely helped me out. Alright, I'm trying to wrap this up here. Oh, I hate hands like this. It looks so like puke. Ugh. Okay. Gotta keep reminding myself that this is an experiment here. This this isn't meant for pretty things. Okay, so we'll say, yay, cool, tight liner, yay. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm just going to quickly just grab a gray, grab a brush. Where are we? I believe it's this one. Yeah. And what I'm doing with this is I'm just filling in his shape. Because he's going to pop over the background no matter what. Let me turn this off, I can't see. Just trying to be real quick about this, and you guys will see this, it'll happen pretty quick here. It's funny, what I'm going to show you guys, just again, go check out Fang Zoo's channel on Facebook, an amazing concept artist, absolutely wonderful. A lot of the, well, all the content that cat releases is just very good. But this one technique that he showed, I started seeing other artists talking about it, and I'm not sure if they started talking about it because he talked about it, or if it was just, you know how sometimes you'll hear something and it doesn't really process, but eventually you hear it again, whether you realize it or not that you've heard it before. But once you hear something and you start, it sort of opens your mind, and now you just start noticing it everywhere. It could have been with shadows, rendering, anything like that, like with practical art. You know, like, oh wow, yeah, everybody renders that way, or that's how rendering works. How did I not see it before? Anyway, what he does is, and I believe a lot of painters do this when you're digital, I don't really know too much about traditional stuff, but is you grab pictures. I guess I can kind of just run down what we're going to be doing next, but you search the internet, build up your library if you want, but search the internet and look for pictures that have colors that you like, color theory. So I want clouds. What color clouds do I want? I want like a nice green cloud, if I can find green clouds. And you just Google search it, see if you can find it, and you just throw those pictures in, and you start stacking pictures on top of each other, and you sort of erase some of them and you blend them in with other ones, and eventually you start to get a color. I'm so bad with the lingo for this. A color palette, I guess we'll call it. A color palette for your piece or your image or whatever the hell you're doing. And then you can just start painting over top of it. But you can take it one step further, because like I say, the whole point of this here is it's still very time intensive, and it's all in a production pipeline. So getting as much done with as little effort is key. So sometimes what we will do here, and you'll see, is I'll just look for like spooky forest. That's what I'm going to search in Google. And we're going to see what we get, drop it in, and just put it behind all of this, and instantly you're going to see like things come to life, like, oh yeah, that's it. Okay, so I have this here. Let's get our texture paper back. We're not really going to need it. So we got Pierre walking. He looks kind of goofy. That's okay. Okay, sorry. Perfect Newt is asking, Jonathan, could you critique my comic page? Sure. Just give me 1 second. I just want to get this started, if you don't mind. And then I can help you out here. 1 quick sec here. I just want to make sure I got your image here. And please be brutal. You don't need to be. Hey, Mike. No, this isn't for Worlds in Peril. This is for my own stuff, Castle Dracula. Okay, so well, this is live stream, so if any nudity pops up, here, let me just type something in here. Mega Man. I should be safe. Make sure my safe search is on. Safe search, filter, explicit, safe search on. Okay. Only because I'll be honest with you, at work today, guys, I was like looking up things like what was it? It was something like spooky something, and I was getting pictures of women, and I don't get it. People like to do what they like to do. So let's look for spooky. Yeah, sure, spooky forest. So again, like, look at right away. Instantly, I can see myself just plucking one of these things, putting it in the art, and then just kind of going. But what you don't necessarily want to do is just go, okay, so this picture here, and then just put it in and leave it. You can, which is fine. But the idea is, yeah, this is self-made, yep. But the idea is you're looking mostly for the color. So if you're to squint your eyes, it breaks things up. You will keep some things and it will add to the image. So like, obviously I'm putting something specific in here like forest. So there's going to be trees that I'm going to take and move into it. So I'm just quickly scrolling down here, just looking for something for color. It doesn't have to be bright. I kind of like this one actually. And it really doesn't matter the size. So this one's actually pretty big. So we're gonna just copy it. So let me just move it off screen here, so you can see where we're gonna go, and just gonna leave background in there just because I want to see. Start to multiply. Turn this layer off. Turn him to multiply because I just want to see how it looks behind them. So you're gonna see right away. Oops, image mode. Yeah. I looked more black and white than I thought it did. So again, what we're looking here is trying to get that color, what we want in there. It's a little bit too much brightness, so we're gonna scrap that. That's kind of how this goes. You just go back and forth until you're finding something that rings closer to what you're looking for. And this stuff pays off huge, guys. Pushing lead design. Jonathan recently started using Manga Studio 5X, and I'm on the fence about whether I want to use that or Photoshop. What do you prefer? I prefer Manga Studio for any kind of comic book work. Right now I'm using Photoshop because I know I need to go in here and do some painting and coloring. But I've seen people do amazing things. The way I look at it, I'll be honest with you, somebody had just messaged me over DeviantArt and they helped me out big time. But what they brought up, it just made me think of something differently. But Manga Studio 4, to me, is a very phenomenal piece of software if you like to do black and white artwork. Manga Studio 5 feels like just a different version of Photoshop, and you need to relearn Photoshop all over again. Manga Studio 5 does not feel like an upgrade to Manga Studio 4 to me. It feels like a whole new piece of software. So if you're just doing black and white artwork, I highly recommend checking out Manga Studio 4. I could be alone in that one. I think a lot of people came in from Manga Studio from just going right into 5. But work with what's comfortable. Nothing's going to make your art look amazing. Like, if you know Photoshop and you can kind of get brushes that work well with what you want to do, stick with that. But I will say the line quality I find that I can get is a little bit better from Manga Studio. Okay, normally this doesn't take this long. But nothing's really popping out right away here. So maybe Spooky Forest isn't what we're looking for. How about we're just looking for Haunted Forests? Romania. Ooh, that was actually a thing. Romania? What's that? Alright, sure. Yeah, let's go to Romania. So this one's, no, I don't want any light. I want this to look like it's like the character's walking into something spooktastic. Or something at least just not... See, now this sort of thing here, those colors are nice and rich. I actually don't mind that at all. Alright, so let's do it. Let's copy this guy. That actually looks real slick. Okay, so let's just paste it over top. So I'm not sure if I'm totally sold on it just yet. So I like to distort it a bit. Again, we're just looking for color. We're not necessarily looking for like, okay, these trees aren't lining up. That's not the big deal. You get used to this sort of thing after a little bit. I'm trying to get the darkness kind of going on that side. Okay, just for the sake of the show, we're just gonna just go with it. Where is it? Okay, so we got that. So now we can start going into things like, okay, so I want like a moon lit sky, and you don't have to go this precise with stuff. It's just a very quick way to do this, so that's why I'm doing that. Where are we going here? What are we looking for? What's a nice light? It's like this sort of thing's looking, that's looking pretty good. That ain't bad. That I kind of like. That's got some serious mood to it. We're gonna go with that. And don't be upset if... Hey, let me try something here. If I turn this to multiply, sometimes you can still get the texture from the paper underneath. Don't really need it. But don't be upset if the image you get, like, look at this, right? Like, look how small that is. That's okay, right? Because you're just looking for certain things, and you kind of want it about that size anyway, smaller, because then you're forced to just look at the color. And remember, we have that moon back to that we want, so we'll say there. Now all we're gonna do is just grab our eraser and just start erasing, the parts that we don't really need. Ah, great. Photoshop's gonna lag. So you can see we're kind of getting some of those images there. Let me just... Where's the sun? So there's some of the artwork kind of coming through still there. So I don't know if you guys can kind of see it coming through. It does take a little bit of practice to kind of, I guess, I don't want to say train your eye, but to look at it just a little different. Okay, so let's go back. Now we still need to find a cool sky going on here. So we're going to put night. Now we'll put cloudy sky. See if we get some. Night. Alright, we're kind of getting some actually better moons here. Makes sense. We're going for color here. That's the one we want. Copy. Michael's asking, do you ever have any problems when you sit down for long periods of time? Yeah, I do. I've tried to get a standing work desk situation going on. It works from time to time, but yes, my back hurts basically, I don't want to say all the time, but more than it should, that's for sure. Alright, so we're kind of getting there. Clouds at night. See if we can get one more really cool kind of cloud image in there, and then we're going to start bringing in some of the other objects here. So what I'm looking for is like just a nice cloud. This ain't bad. I don't want other images. Oh wow, weird. Can I copy that? Copy image. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna go edit, transform, flip vertical, transform. And the other thing that I forgot to mention, which we'll do actually now, is you can also play with your blending modes, which will give you really wild and pretty cool effects. You can kind of play around and see which ones work for you, if any of them work. And lower the opacity. So once you do this for a little while, it starts to come together, like you start to understand what you're doing a little bit more. Sometimes they're not working, so we can just, whoops, let's bring it down here, lower our opacity a bit. Kind of getting a fog kind of going here. That's not bad. Sort of see what we got here. Let's try one last one here. I just want to get this groundwork done in here, and then I'm going to just critique your comic page there. Sorry, just give me one uno momento. Let's go with this guy. See how she looks in there. Let's turn that moon off. Okay, so I see what the problem is here. So we're going to put that there. We're just going to kind of move this stuff around. It's just some of the cool stuff when you work digitally, guys, is you're able to do weird stuff like this. Whether or not it works for you, I don't know. I dig it. It's, like I say, it's a little different work style, or workflow I should say too. Oops. And for those of you that came in a little bit later, if I can just explain why we're doing this. So at work today, I had to develop concepts pretty quick. And I remember this Fang Zhu tutorial where he went like this, and I've talked about working like this to do your own personal work so that you can understand or you can see if it's worth time developing something, if it's too much time, or if it's worth it to keep going. Which might sound a little condescending, because like I know a lot of people, they like to, you know, you got to stick with it no matter what. Don't let your dreams die, sort of thing. But it's very, I know this is probably taking a little bit of time for you, but it's, this sort of stuff doesn't take as much time, and you can see right away if it feels right. But what I plan on doing with it is seeing if I can do this, but use this just for background work, and then keep the main characters colored how we've been coloring them for the last little bit here. So top of the sky is still kind of bothering me. Maybe it's just something as simple as this. Let's try it. Oh boy. All right. Maybe that's what we need, just these clouds. Let's try that. That's actually a really fantastic picture. I like that. That's real nice. Wow. So what we're looking for is just the clouds. We're going to flip it horizontal. We're going to cut out all those buildings, obviously. Just delete that. Erase all these guys. Man, Photoshop is chuggy. Hmm. 10 minutes left. Yeah, I know. I think we're going over the hour, guys. That's just the way it's looking, so I really didn't intend for it to go this long. But what can you do? What can you do? Work faster, damn it. Alright, so maybe we can just do it like this. It's not that bad. It's just like I think I'm just trying to get a little too specific on you guys. It doesn't really matter. Okay, we still got to put the trees in there. Anyway, let's critique. I'm sorry, I forget your name. On here, it's Perfect Newt. Oh, is it Perfect Newt? Is that correct? Copy image. So we're just going to critique his comic page here. Let's just paste it in, and we'll close that. Okay, let's just turn this to gray so you guys can see it. Okay, so let's take it in first before we do anything. Okay, so I'm basing this just on art alone. I'm not going to read the script at all. There's an old saying with comics, right? And you guys have heard it, is that you shouldn't need, Noof, sorry. Like from Newfoundland, maybe? You shouldn't need speech bubbles to be able to tell the story of a comic. That goes both ways. I say yes and no. Sometimes you could have people crying and you think it's sad, but when you add the speech, it's, I'm crying not because I'm sad, but because, you know, I'm going to kill you. Something absolutely dramatic, right? But, okay, so I'm taking it in. There's a few things here that are jumping out right away, and it goes into talking about perspective. And there's some bobos here. Okay, so let me just grab red so we can kind of see what's going on. Let me just see. Oh, image, mode, RGB color, don't flatten. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming this whole panel here is all taking place in the same spot. Okay, so what you did wrong, or at least that's what's coming off with me. Remember when I told you guys how you can find vanishing points? I'm going to show you this one more time in practice here, so you can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to try to find a vanishing point here. So I'm just going to draw the line from this table here. We're going to draw a line from this table here, and bang, that's a vanishing point. So if that's the vanishing point, that means everything else has to go to that. And right away, let's take a look at this line here. Look at that. That one goes over. And this is clearly a 1 point perspective. So I mean, yeah, that's okay if it's there. If that's the horizon line, you are allowed to put things wherever you would like them. But where it doesn't work and where it starts to break is this whole table here. Is I don't know where this vanishing point's going here. So let's try to find it. So we got this line going here. We got this line going here. So we got another vanishing point right up here. So what this tells me is that you didn't use perspective at all. I think you eyeballed all of this perspective. And another big thing that is a red flag, and it does suck because, you know, if you really wanted to fix this page, unfortunately at this stage you'd have to redo it. If you look at all these people here, it's getting smaller and smaller as you go, right? And that's why these guys are small. But there's no way that they're going to be able to... You know how big this is? This thing is massive. If I was to move this person, just even the size that they are, we'll take this guy drinking. I'm just going to put him right beside it here. Right here. Look how big that is. But because it's in perspective, this guy, according to what we got going here, it'd probably have to be like that. And that's very, very tiny. Okay, so I'm just going to show you real quick how we can solve that. So I'm just going to lower the opacity, make a new layer. So first things first is figure out what's going on, right? So what I would do if you're learning perspective especially, is take a little piece of paper next to your thumbnail. Like, I hope you're thumbnailing all this stuff out. If you guys don't thumbnail, it's really bad. Okay, get in the habit of thumbnailing, because the last thing you want to do is grab a piece of paper, especially for comic book work that you spend so much time at, and then just start drawing. It takes practice to be able to do that. The amount of time it takes to do a thumbnail, it might seem like it sucks, but it'll save you so much time, and it'll actually do what we're going to do here. So let's just say we're thumbnailing this panel here. So we got a piece of paper next to us, nice and small. I'll just zoom in so you guys can see it. And I know I want to have a table, right, and some people on it. So I'm just going to keep it simple. Just going to keep it simple. This is probably the most important thing that I've established, and I'm assuming that's what you did too, since you have it in the foreground, is this bar. So find your perspective. and we're keeping it pretty sketchy. Okay, we got 1 point here. We're going to keep it simple, so we're just going to make a straight horizontal line and a straight vertical line. So that's, you've got your up and down lines, your left and right lines, and your vanishing points, the things that are going into the distance here. Okay, so let's start here by getting all the lines that go into the distance here, our first vanishing point. Then you're going to follow your vertical line, and you're going to do the same with your horizontal line. And notice how this is all still in the thumbnail stage. It's very loose, but right away, just by doing this, you can see what the hell's going on, right? Like, things hopefully become a little clearer. I'm just going to raise it up just a little bit so we can still see it. And now my thumbnail, I'm still going to just go, okay, so I know I want to have a table here. It's a bar, so maybe it opens right there. And we're going to just gotta follow our perspective lines. We got a guy kind of leaning up here. We got another person here. She's talking to her friend right here. And this guy's talking to the barkeep. How's it going? And if you ever read Loomis's guide, figure drawing, I think it is, he shows you an example of drawing people in perspective. I'll just draw it over real quick here. So let's just say we had, again, a very similar perspective, 1 point perspective. Just tone that down just a bit. If you can figure out where you want somebody to stand, right, you can follow this perspective, and no matter what, they'll always, it's the illusion that works pretty well. So I'm going to follow this line for his head to his vanishing point, and follow the bottom of his head, so that means a head will fit there. We're going to go in with the shoulders and the feet. So now I know if I go in here and the crotch, that person fits in there. If I wanted to keep going, no problem, they all fit in. And what you can do is you can still follow your perspective, so your horizon or horizontal lines, and do the same thing over here. So maybe this is a drill sergeant talking to a group of cadets. Do you see what's going on there? So what you're doing there is, now that you've established this, that's what you have to do with this. Okay, so all these people are here. There's a trick that I learned from Greg Capullo, and he talks about something like this. So pick something. So we'll say the bartender. How far is he from your horizon? Okay, so if I were just to select him and move him up, he's about to his kneecaps. So that means anybody in here, as long as, how do I want to put this here? Actually, okay, here, let me just figure this out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 heads because of the bartender there. So as long as anybody here, no matter what size their head, is 4 heads away, you'll be okay. So let's say I wanted to have somebody maybe up in the foreground here. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, put a head right there. And no matter what, that perspective is still going to work for that character. Oh man, the size of all this stuff. So if I wanted to have people over at the bar here, I would figure them out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Somebody there, somebody there. But again, this is all thumbnail work. You don't need to worry about that until you get there, okay? So once you have that, then you can start to apply it here. So you can see right away where a lot of the problems stem from. So if I would just, let's just redraw this panel here. So the first thing I would do is get our grid. And we need a vanishing point, so we'll say we've got a lot of room here. This whole page is actually going to change. And remember, your vanishing point here should focus on what's important. So we're going to change the panel up here. We're going to say these two guys' conversation is the most important, and we'll say it's this main character here. So we're going to put everything stems from what's important here. Okay, that's the whole point of perspective. It's not just to make things look cool, it's to draw the attention. So let me just lower the opacity, lower that, make a new layer. Okay, so now that we know that he's the attention, I can draw him in here. Okay, so he'd be here, and I'm just drawing one side of him, one plane here. I'm going to show you why. Okay, so now if I want to line this arm up, Follow the perspective again, kind of like what I showed you how to line up those people. So that's where his elbow should go, that's where his shoulder should go, that's where his wrist should go. So shoulder, elbow, wrist. And we're going to put a beer there. And he's going to fit in pretty good. And these guys are talking. And we're just going to follow the same grid here. We're going to just assume that even though the bartender is probably a bigger guy, shoulders will go here, elbows here. Like that. And we can get the table kind of coming in this way. We got this lady here talking to her friend. So again, what we're going to do, and this is where it gets weird because I know you wanted to go here, which seems like it should be okay, but it's, at least in this sense, what we got, that head is actually like, boom, it's massive. Right? Just because of where we actually have this perspective. So let's get this right. So she's here talking to her friend. Another head's way up here. Shoulders are still here, so you know where your neck's gonna go. It probably seems weird, but you get used to this stuff. And I know this seems a little bit crazy here, but anyway, I don't spend too much time on that. So just keep working on your perspective. That's a problem. Then the next thing too, I learned this from Todd McFarlane, and I still remember it to this day. It works. Is you don't want to have the same size heads in most of your panels. So this guy's head is the same size as his head here. This panel here, you know, you kind of have his finger coming at us. You could have gone with it and probably went like this. You know, like boom, right in your face, and immediately it's a different kind of image. So vary your shots. You have a lot of the same shot selection, but keep going. And oh, one more other quick thing. This is for everybody out there because you guys might not notice this. You see this area right here? This is what you call a tangent. We've got the line of the table and it stops right at the ear. That makes it look really weird. If all you did was just bring the ear out, we'll say like that, it breaks that tangent and it makes it look less awkward. You did it here too with the elbow, where the elbow goes right into the line. If you move that line up here or even moved his arm down there, that'd be a little bit better. You did it again here with his wrist. So if you brought the wrist that way. So tangents are dangerous. Just gotta be careful of them. Okay. Anyway, hopefully that helps. It was pretty brutal. I didn't mean to get too gross on you. Okay, hey John, before the video goes off, who was the band doing Castlevania covers? Oh man, I forget. If you go into YouTube and search, no problem. If you go into YouTube and search Castlevania NES, like Nintendo Entertainment System, NES Remix, that'll be the first soundtrack for the first game. That was the first one we listened to. Okay. Let's see if we can kind of finish this up here. I just want to lower the opacity and image adjust hue saturation. Normally you don't want to be doing this. The whole point of this is to look for colors places. Okay, so we got that. The next thing we need here is some trees. If you're gonna redo the page, kudos to you. Few people would actually do that, so I applaud you to getting the balls, I guess, to go back and redo something that you probably spent a lot of time doing. So I applaud you on that. Okay, so remember how I said I wanted the trees to kind of curve in? We're gonna use these trees. We're running a little late here. What I'm gonna do is at least get this lighting sort of stuff done first with you guys, and then if you guys are following me on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, I will post how this turns out so you guys can check that out. And let me know what you think. Let me know if the rendering style looks okay, if it's not cool, if it looks kind of stupid, all that kind of stuff. Let's go for 2 hours. You got the day off. size these guys so we can move it under. That's a little weird. Hmm. Okay. Just turn the opacity down on this guy a little bit. I'll keep going here. So we're just gonna keep looking for some trees. Ba-ba-ba. The Cintiq I use is the 12WX, so 12 inches I believe it is. I've been heavily debating getting the bigger one. The immediate reason why not is the price is, you know, it's massive. But I'm sort of getting tired with, and this is sort of, you know, your first world problem sort of thing, but I'm getting a little sick and tired of just working on such a smaller surface here. If I was able to see more, I think that'd be really good. Obviously. Okay, so I'm getting further and further away from where I wanted to go here, so I'm going to draw in the background, but there were some things that I wanted to have in here. I wanted to have what are they called, like pebbles on the road, like let's just see what we get. Pebbles, kind of like a cobblestone. That's it, cobblestone. Looks good. Sort of like people have been. What is this? No, get out of here. Copy. So we just distort here. I'm just gonna warp it. Maybe not. I don't. Why isn't this working? Why do you hate me tonight? Text. What is going on? I have this stinking feeling that this is just gonna like crash. Yeah, Photoshop can be a little bitch. Okay, transform warp. So we just want to bend this stuff up a little bit here so we can guide the eye. Even that looks kind of gross, that's fine. Okay, so let's just turn that off. What I need to do first here is just get some ground color. So we're just going to go with bog. Bogs are pretty nasty. Alright. Yeah, I like that. Just going to paste that down here. What is causing this stuff here? So get rid of these sharp lines here. Any recommendations for paper size in Photoshop or Magnitude 5 in regards to submitting to create space for Lulu? I'm not sure. I've never really messed around with those companies. They should have something on their website letting you know like what their requirements are, or what their recommended requirements are for page sizes. I know for what's it called? Kablam, they have like a template you can download for your comic board, and I just lined mine up with that one. But normally I would just go, especially in Photoshop, just make a new document 11 by 17 inches and then crop it off to 10 by 15 inches and just make sure you draw inside that. Kind of getting there. I don't know what this white shit is. Yeah, it's overkill. Alright, now we can worry about these cobblestones. So we just want the idea that they're there. We don't necessarily want them to be like totally evident. I like the idea of it's been there for a while, like something like that. It's not bad. Even that's a little better. We can just lower the opacity a bit. Image adjust. Take the saturation out of them a little bit. Okay, one more thing I forgot. So small village at night. He needs to be leaving the village. So I want like a bunch of little huts, like hobbit holes, if we can find those. something that looks good at a distance. Something like this might be okay. I just don't know if I want all that blue in there. We'll try it out. See you later, perfect. Thanks for stopping by, bud. So we just none of it's good. Okay. So we're just gonna erase all that blue around it. I don't want that big pillar back there either. What eraser am I using? Let's try that. There you go. Hopefully you can kind of see what's going on. How can one get what's that? 100,000 followers, I'm assuming, and then just have them pay $1 for each of you and produce art. I don't know. That would be a wonderful thing if you're able to live off your art in any way. So alright, so the next thing that we would do here is we need to do color balance. You guys can't really see it, but on my other monitor it's very saturated. On the Cintiq it gets watered down a bit. So when you do a color balance, you just kind of slide around. You can, it dramatically changes the tone that you're going for. The background I want to be warm because that's where the good guys are. That's where the life is, right? So a lot of that is greens very life, yellow, that sort of thing. And then dead tends to be cold, right? So green borderlines on cold, definitely blue. So in saying that, that means I want the majority of this thing to be dead, so blues and greens, and the way it's looking is a lot of the highlights are oranges and yellows, right? So if we go to our highlights, we're going to do that first. We're just going to make sure that there's still some yellow and orange kind of going on, especially in the background, and our shadows we want to start bringing into the blues, the cyans. Getting to that, I don't know if we want to go on the green. Maybe we can go like that route. And just let me check one other thing. I don't know why there's these giant black like lines through all this stuff. It's not you. Is it you? A lot of black on that one. It's this one. Okay. Just give me 1 second here to. I don't need these giant black splotches everywhere. Okay, so we got that. We're going to make a new adjustment layer for our levels. And here you can, this is where you get, for me the magic happens, because you can radically change an image just by making sliders slide. It's a little too dark for me. I don't want it to be black. Maybe around here. And one of the last things we do is I just make a black and white layer, and what this does is it lets us see where our darks are, like what's dark in this image, right? So I'm going to make a layer underneath it. Grab an airbrush, which I believe we already have. I'm going to bring it to 70%, and I'm just going to go with a gross, we're going to go with a dark blue, almost gray. And what you can do now is you can just sort of paint in, change it to a multiply layer, and you can paint in where you want your darks to be, right? So the idea here is you want to try and show depth, right? So the darker something is, usually the closer it is to the viewer. And I'm going to get real stupid with it because we're going to be painting over this stuff here. Normally I would spend quite a bit of time, well, not quite a bit of time, but you can start, like from this stuff you can actually start painting, you know, you can start, let's just change our brush here. You could actually start going in here and getting all your textures in there and all that fun stuff. What I'm worried about here is I'm trying to make sure there's like some framing kind of going on. And I would like, at best, just having the light kind of going towards him. Tree action. Make another layer and another multiply pass. Alright, now this is the scary part. When we turn the black and white layer off, sometimes it just starts looking pretty gross. But it's not bad. It kind of looks spongy in spots. But alright, so the last step we'll do is we'll make a new one, and we'll put screen on this. And we're going to switch it to white. And now we can really start pushing where we want our highlights to be. So I want that moon, you know, I want the city to have some highlights on her, and some of this walkway. I'll break up some of the spots back here. I guess I sort of have some rays kind of coming through here, I guess. Okay, so let's turn out the black and white, see how it's kind of looking. Alright, so it's sort of looking, you know, I could go either way on it. But it's a test, so how does that look? That might be... The blues, I don't know. I really don't think we need that. This city's too blue. Let's just lower the opacity on it. So from here, what I would do is just actually, let me turn off our lines. Control A to control all, Control Shift C, which copies everything you see, and we're going to Control V. Oops, make a new layer, sorry. Control V, and as you can see, it's its own layer. So if I turned everything off, now if I just turn that layer, it's on its own thing. So what I'm going to try here actually is multiply, see if we can. So what this does is it pulls that texture out from that paper that we had in the beginning. You see how it's sort of like pulling texture around in there? Yeah, like there would probably be a lot of things I could do with this. Textual, or not textual, but for sure, Michael, like having leaves blow in front of them and stuff like that. I kind of like the black and damn it. I'm gonna try something here. We're gonna go hue saturation layer. I just want to take the saturation out just a bit. I think I'm liking that. That's making it look pretty sharp. Makes it look less spooky. Like the more saturation that's in there, it's less, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, let's kind of have a good time. But you start doing this sort of thing. Yeah, I'm kind of liking this. Now this is the cool stuff with digital, guys. Layers, adjustment layers, all that fun stuff. You can just click and get new effects all the time. So this is the moment of truth here. This is where we're going to see if this whole thing is even worth doing. So we've got our main character walking through here. He actually does look pretty goofy. But what we're looking for here is we're going to select him. Now, let me just pull up off screen here. Preview, because I need the colors that he is. Just let me, where is it? Print screen. Right here, paste. Scroll over. There he is. So he's got a lot of colors that I need there. We're going to cut that. We're going to delete this layer. You want to delete it? Oh, yeah. And we're just going to put it to the side. I'm just going to start pulling those colors. Now, what I'm trying to do here is adjust the size of this stuff. Or adjust the color to appropriate in the background here. So new layer, yes, we're going to use that as layer. See you later, buddy. So let's get his color first. That's not right. There we go. So let's get his hair. What I'm hoping, there's a combination here. Like I said, I was doing work today at the day job where this started sparking some ideas. But another place where I had seen something similar to this is what's the guy's name? Tim Mickburn, something like that. And he has, I believe, right now he's doing a Pinocchio comic, and he did something similar to this, where the backgrounds were all painted, but he did like huge backgrounds. And why he did that was now he can kind of go in and copy, control, paste some of the backgrounds and just make backgrounds out of stuff like that. So if you look at this, like if I zoomed into just this, like that could be a panel, right, with that background, and I could, you know, clean it up a bit. If I went this way, that's another panel, you know, and move stuff around. Like right here, we kind of got a city I would dress up and all that. But what that lets you do is it makes, once the initial work's done for the backgrounds, you can just, you know, kind of like the old cartoons like He-Man and stuff. You could just you could just grab the same background over and reuse it over and over again. And I know it can be frowned on. It doesn't matter. Who cares what other people think, right? What's that makes look like Broly? So good. Well, I'm a Dragon Ball fan, so I can dig it. make sure we save here. Okay, so what's this color here? It's like a silver. And this is like a dark, whoops. Keep clicking off screen here. That, this. I believe I use the same brown for his nipples. I guess thanks for everybody that's sticking around here too. I mean, we're going over big time here, but that's okay. If you guys still wanted to stick around, I guess I'll just talk real quickly about the design that we've been doing since we've been, you know, the months for doing Castle Dracula here. But I wanted everything to be square on him, so that's why even his nipples are square. But I just wanted to see how many square things I could sort of fit into a design. Whether or not this design's very safe, I will say for sure. But line up to the other characters, he's pretty. It's a unique. Maybe that's the wrong word to use, but it's a unique silhouette compared to the other characters. So there's the man bat. He looks drastically different than him, and that's really all I was going for. So as long as I guess I nail that stuff, that's okay. Let's hurry this up here. Gotta get that brown for his loincloth. I really need to design that whip. Maybe we can do that next week. We'll do like a weapon design video. That's always fun. Get to crack out the World of Warcraft concept art books, kind of see what they were doing. Almost done here. And all this is just for one effect. Hopefully it looks good. We didn't even really get a chance to paint the background yet either. Okay, is he colored in? Oh, just need his whip. Sure, we'll color it silver for now. Okay, so let's just zoom out. Okay, so he's there. Turn off our reference. So obviously he fits, but really doesn't. So here we go. Let's do some experimenting. I want to merge that down so it's all one layer. Now, I don't want to put the shadows on him just yet. What I want to do is see if I can place the colors in the scene here. So I'm just going to duplicate it. And we're going to turn this to maybe color. I'm just going to play around here until we get like something that makes him feel like he's kind of in there. So if you ever do painting or anything like that, let's just say, just so you guys understand what I'm saying, I said a little earlier, let's say you drew Spider-Man. You know he's red and blue, but when he goes into a nightclub that's got like pounding red lights and stuff like that, and orange or purples and greens, like it affects the color of him. But when he's at the beach, there's oranges and other colors, and that should affect him. Instead of it just being red and blue all the time, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. If I can have his base color down, that this character normally is, and then see if I can find a way to get the colors of the scene to kind of make him blend. So that's actually kind of, it's not bad. So it's dark in color. I'm thinking multiply. See, now multiply, we're kind of getting there. Let's make sure we got all our. Let's see if we can just lower the opacity just a bit. I don't want him to be that dark. I mean, even though the scene's pretty dark. So I think that kind of works. Like a purple kind of. Couldn't you throw a general overlay? No, yeah, you might be right there, Michael. We could try that here. So let's just go to normal. Let's try it out here. So we can just click. You're probably right here. It's probably the smartest way to do it. So let's just see what, like, I think one of these darker colors up here, probably the local kind of color, like that, makes him feel like he's a little bit in there. Then what we're gonna do is darken. That's not bad. Multiply is too dark. Overlay. Overlay works. Okay, good job. We're just gonna stick with that. I just want to lower the opacity just a little bit. No, I don't. What I want to do is merge these together, and then image, adjust hue saturation. I just want to kill some of this saturation. He's too saturated. Yeah, so that's not bad. Okay, so what we're going to do is make a new layer, and we're going to keep that same color we've been using. Let's grab our brush here, and we're just going to put the shadows on him. Now this is my most fun part, is putting the shadows on this stuff. Oops. Just make sure it's dark. Nope, it's not. We gotta put it on multiply. So it's just a quick test. It's way too dark, so we're gonna have to lighten it up a bit. How's that? Still way too dark. That's a little better. So this is going to take some getting used to, for sure. But I want the light source to be that giant moon that's behind him. So that means a lot of cast shadows. And a lot of him is just going to be in shadow here. A lot of detail is going to get lost, but that's okay. We'll clean up the shadows after. So I guess I'll just sort out to you guys. What do you think of this project so far? and I'll give you the rundown if you're not aware of what it is. It's a I don't want to say homage, because it started off as a homage to the video game Castlevania, but the more I started just working on it, the more that idea kind of drifted away, and now it's getting into the point where the theme is lightly based off of Castlevania. But I guess the proper words for it now would just be I don't want to say it's a love letter, but it's themed off of that. I don't know the correct word for it, but what's that? You still think Buffy should be in it? Needs bigger pecs? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. I might throw one bounce light in here, maybe. I'm being very gross with the shadows here. Yeah, like the background that I was going to paint, just to be clear, it's more of a... Now that I have all these colors in there, I can start to push and pull to get what I wanted. So build more trees in there that would be a little bit more specific to like the underlying sketch that I initially had. Clean up the city in the background, stuff like that. But the other benefit of this method here is it doesn't take as long to sell an idea. So if I did like this, then I could go, okay, the idea worked. Now let's just worry about the execution and stuff like that. So if we zoom out here, so we're going to select him, Shift Control I, delete, and let's make a new multiply layer. Let's go darker with this one. Yeah, like that's what the more I do this, the further away from an actual mini comic it becomes, and it starts to just become like, all right, well, this is just a comic, right? And I guess I'm okay with that. Oh, thank you for the very high praise there. Alright, so this shadow here, I'm just actually going to go image adjust hue saturation. Let's make it a little darker. So I'm looking at a different monitor than you guys are looking at. You guys will probably see once I post this online, it's much different. Like the range that's on the Cintiq here is not even close to what's on the monitor, and the monitor is giving me some really dark values here. Yeah, anybody who wants to do fan art, absolutely. When the book, however it goes, I'm more than sure it'll be online for sure. But I'll be welcoming any kind of fan art, absolutely. We'll get it in the book there. Okay, so we're gonna have two things here, and this is one last test. So ultimately, I think this doesn't look that bad, to be honest, in my opinion, for the first pass. And like I said, being able to do this sort of thing, I can crop pieces in and out and build backgrounds on this. So I really don't mind it. I was kind of concerned because this sort of coloring style lends to a very gradient heavy, what's the word I want to look for here? Gradient heavy, simple background. This feels a little bit more rich. So I'm going to just eyedrop the moon, and we're going to just do like a very quick, let me get a better brush. This light here would be, I guess, what would you call it? Your local light source. Control Alt Delete. Let's move this above the lines or the pencils, so we can get like right on top here, like that. Yeah, that's good. And I want to be careful with this. I don't want to. Do every line. A wrist shield? Yeah. Well, right here, when you guys look at this, like, it gets lost, and that's why we're going to put a second light source in there, because that's not really acceptable to have things get lost like that, because then you don't know what design is on that character, you know? That's not good. Just highlight on his. You gotta be careful here, because now we're starting to noodle. At least on the metal parts here. Nah, it's too bright. Alright, so now we're getting too bright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of pull from the lower shades, but it'll still act as a highlight, just not as strong. And put some volume to that whip. Alright, so the bounce light. What's our bounce light going to be here? Which is kind of a shame because I only have the one light source going here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make one quick layer above it. So Dracula, red? Purple's kind of spooky. Maybe we can go into the purples. Let's try it. We're just going to go a real nasty gradient. And we're going to change blending mode, see if we can get something like that. Actually ain't that bad. Color dodge, vivid light, hard light. Hard light ain't bad. Thanks, Michael. Just gonna play around with the hue saturation, see if purple is the one we want to go with. Maybe we do want to go with like a red. Yeah, we'll try it. What the hell? Okay, so we got that. We're gonna make a new layer, and we're just gonna pick one of these colors here, one of the purples. And if we get lucky, this doesn't look half bad. And this is a part of the style that I'm gonna have to noodle with, because I don't know if everything needs to have friggin' two light sources like this. Probably shouldn't. Okay, so this is getting way too bright for down here, so we're just going to pick a darker one, like a darker purple. Let's just zoom out, take a look. It helps. I don't want to be doing too much shading and rendering here because it just starts adding onto the time, right? And the whole point of this sort of thing is that it's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to spend my whole life doing coloring just like this would be one panel, right? And you're like, oh God, how many more pages to go? Who knows, right? Question: is this representative of how the rest of the book will look? Line work, photo maple because it's looking coolish. Yeah, like this was an experiment based on a couple of things that happened today at work, and listening to another artist talk who does a book similar to this sort of thing. And this is the sort of thing you can just actually, I could keep pushing it, right? Keep pushing the light sources. But tonight was just an experiment to see how all of this works. You know, like, do I like the overall effect and stuff? And to be honest with you, I don't mind it. There's a little bit of work up front to get a lot of the work and the colors working, but no, I don't mind it. So right now I'll say yes. Alright, so we're going to wrap it up here. We're going to do one more, where we're looking at color balance. And I just want to see if we can get back into the blues a bit. Maybe. Yeah, that's good. Shadows are still want to go. Highlights, we're going into the yellows, I think. Color balance is a dangerous tool, and it's very awesome. Oh yeah, absolutely. I already have the thumbnail done for when he walks up to the castle. I wanted it to be just like how it's done in Castlevania, where it's him walking past the fence and then looking at it. So I'll have that. All right, we're gonna do the levels here. So probably brighten it up just a bit. See how that's looking. It's a shame because what I'm looking at, guys, is a little darker than what you guys are gonna see. But oh well. And I guess one last thing, even though I keep saying one last thing, I just want to make him pop just a little bit more. So let's pick what? We'll pick that color. I'm just gonna kind of. What I'm doing here is a lot of concept art does this, where you put a little bit of like a faint halo light around things. Let me just get his selection. I'm just going to delete inside of him just so it's behind him, just to make the colors of him pop a little bit more. So Buffy some Okay, well, I'm going to wrap the show up here, guys. I'm actually going to save this out. So if you guys are following me on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, you guys will be able to see it there. Let me know what you think. It's still a little dark, so I might play around with it, but it was an experiment. So I hope you guys had a good time anyway. And thanks for sticking around for, I guess, wow, 2 hours. That's longer than it should have taken. That's for sure. But I appreciate everybody's time and all that good stuff. But until next time, you guys, I'll see you guys next Wednesday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you got into the show a little bit late, just look at the clock now, subtract 2 hours, and that's when the show starts. And if you guys wanted to give me a little financial support, I really appreciate that. You can head over to patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. Any donations there, they go directly back into personal projects such as this. And it's just a little way of saying thanks for all the content that I am putting out there for you guys. And if you guys do use Manga Studio, if you guys would even donate at least $1, there's the free pencil brushes that I use in Manga Studio 5 that you can download for free. And then there's some other goodies on there as well if you guys wanted to check that out. But thank you guys once again. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.